there with him.
Well, that's probably what he was. That's sort of what he was thinking. Well, to give credit to Bill, also appreciating Hillary's brilliance. I mean, Hillary's a brilliant person, and the fact that she ended up with the Secretary of State job, I think, is a happier ending for the Clintons than they might have expected. Even though, in a way, Obama is following the old line about, you know, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Well, what do you think of his cabinet?
Well, first of all, about his cabinet, it is, in many respects, the cabinet that Hillary Clinton might have picked. Just today, they're naming Tom Vilsack.
They just did it.
They just did it. As Secretary of Agriculture. Well, he would have been Hillary's Secretary of Agriculture, if not something else in Hillary's administration.
Salazar, and they had Salazar.
I mean, there's a whole lot of people, and the whole idea of the meritocracy and the people with the Harvard degrees and all that. I mean, the Clintons like that kind of stuff too. I think it's the new. What Obama has chosen essentially is the next layer down of the old Clinton establishment in many respects.
The next growth.
The next growth, if you will, the next harvest.
And wouldn't it have been, I think we're saying the same, it's the Democratic
establishment.
Yeah.
So I never thought of Obama as an anti-establishment figure. Yes, he is a change candidate, but he was never an anti-establishment guy. He rose by making his peace with various establishments, with the Daley Klan in Chicago. You know, he didn't take them on. He became part of their orbit through Valerie Jarrett.
Right. How many cabinet positions are still out there? CIA, right?
We've got the CIA. I think you got transportation. I don't think they've been labor. I don't think that they've picked either of those yet. USTR, labor. So some of the rubber, literally rubber meets the road one.
Well, CIA is big.
And the CIA is real big. But I think my take on it is that the defense and foreign policy wing of the Obama administration is going to be run by General Jones, the national security advisor, who has the additional virtue, besides his brilliant career and smarts, of being 6'5" and having played basketball at Georgetown. And in the Obama administration, having basketball ability is going to count. And by the way, that includes Susan Rice.
Maybe they can just replace the wizard. No, I mean.
That includes Susan Rice, the UN ambassador designate, who I think played for national.
Okay.
She was on the National Cathedral Girls team.
It's going to behoove the media then to have some basketball players.
I'm working on my three-point shot.
You think that's how David Gregory got Meet the Press?
It could be. It could be. He was picked on his height. Yeah.
Did John McCain?
Which means George Stephanopoulos is in trouble.
Probably a very good guard.
Right.
Did John McCain ever have a chance?
I don't really think so.
Did he think he did?
I'm not sure he did. He's the ultimate realist. I'm not sure. Basically, if you look at history, if you look at trends, if you look at the big waves of the way our country runs, it would have been very, very difficult for any Republican to win, and almost impossible for any Democrat to blow it, although the Democrats have a great history of doing that. Look, it's hard for any party in power in the White House to get a third term in the White House. It doesn't happen very often. It happened with Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, but it doesn't really happen very often if you look at the sweep of history.
Reagan, yeah.
That was Reagan, and that was the momentum of Reagan. It happens very rarely, number one. Number two, the economy was slowing down a year ago. We now know by the official statements that the recession started in December of 2007. So the combination of those two things alone made it statistically and historically very difficult for the Republicans to win. Arguably, McCain, on paper, was the best candidate they had, at least initially, because he could argue that he was for change, too. He would get all mavericky. You know.
Yeah.
He was for change, too. Then the economy came along.
But he had to be, because of Obama's quiet and cool change, didn't that force McCain to have to become the cartoon kind of change, thus the mavericky?
Oh, he didn't need any encouragement.
Well, but you know what I mean. He had to become bigger and bolder about it.
Yeah, but I think that's the way McCain campaigns. I mean, I've followed McCain's 2000 campaign as well. He was never a cool hand Luke kind of guy.
Did the Palin thing backfire on him in his mind at a certain point in the campaign?
Oh yeah, yes, but I think more has been made of that in both directions. I think McCain was the kind of guy, is the kind of guy, and this is one of the things I like about him, is that he deals with whatever the firefight is directly in front of him. He just goes from this part of the jungle. He'll worry about the next part of the jungle later when he gets there. So what he was facing before the Republican convention in St. Paul was a deadly, dull, boring convention in which everybody is going to say, "What a bunch of dead old white males! You know, who cares about these people?" Plus, it was in St. Paul, Minnesota. With no disrespect to St. Paul, it's not a real lively kind of place. Ever since, you know, F. Scott Fitzgerald left there. So Obama, so McCain was saying, let's just do something to shake it up. What are we going to do? You can't have Pawlenty. It couldn't be the McCain-Pawlenty ticket, or even the, you know, the really
exciting those other white men.
McCain-Romney ticket. You know, who do we got? And then, from the back of the room, I'm guessing, you know, Charlie Black, among others, said, well, we got Sarah Palin. You met her briefly. You know, they love her. Rush Limbaugh loves her. The conservatives love her. You know, she's strong on abortion. She's strong on states' rights, all that stuff. And they sort of looked at her and said, hey, why not?
She looks just like Tina Fey.
She looks like Tina Fey. And I'll tell you what, at that convention, and I think there are probably some people here who were at that convention, it was really exciting. They turned what was going to be a dull, boring convention that seemed hopeless. The Republicans had no hope of winning.
And remember there was a hurricane coming in.
Yeah,
too,
and they did a very good job of handling that. They actually, situationally, they were fine on the short stuff. It's just the big picture that was against them regardless. So I think too much is made about Sarah Palin up and down. She excited the convention, and then there was a serious downside, and the downside was she was unprepared, and clearly unprepared, which didn't affect her so much as it affected our view of McCain's judgment. It made people worry about McCain, and it was McCain's judgment and seasoning that supposedly was his strong suit.
And he just appeared to chill to her over the course of the campaign, too, rather than warming to her. At a certain point, you just looked at them and you felt that he was not bought into her anymore.
Well, it's because he understood, I think, that her sort of entertainment value made him look bad. It made him look unserious. It made him look fundamentally unserious. And McCain is a serious guy. I mean, we talk about the Maverick stuff, and McCain fights his way through the jungle and all this other stuff. All that's true, but McCain cares, and he's a serious guy. He cares about the world. He cares about foreign policy and defense stuff.
Right.
He's a military guy who thinks this is all a big deal. You know, this American government thing is a really big deal in the world.
And you noticed at a certain point, too, that he seemed to be disturbed by the ugly, angry side that her candidacy was stirring up in the Republican base. Do you remember the episode at one of his appearances where the woman said, I know Obama's an Arab? And I thought it was the most interesting time in the campaign to look at him because the expression on his face was like, this has gone too far. Remember that? He just said to her, no. And you saw a side of McCain that we didn't see much on the campaign, that serious person that you're...
Well, some people might argue that if the McCain who was upset at that kind of behavior had been the McCain that we saw all along in the campaign, he might have had a better chance to win. In other words, McCain never particularly liked or felt comfortable with the hardcore conservative cultural base of the Republican Party. That's not who John McCain is. John McCain is the son and grandson of admirals. Admirals know how to move in society. Admirals are polished people, however much they polish their own legends for their gruffness and their crudity. I mean, these are sophisticated people, and McCain is the product of that. McCain went to Episcopal High School.
Right.
I mean, so he's not a winger.
Right.
He never was a winger. And those people bother him.
Yeah.
And
it showed.
Then they know it too. So the whole thing was this kind of bad